Hello and welcome to Five to Flow's five-part series on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. My name is AJ Bellarosa and I am the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Five to Flow. Five to Flow wanted to launch this five-part series to provide a forum for people to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion and how to drive momentum in today's corporate world. Throughout my experience across the globe, I have found that the only way to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion is to understand and listen to people's stories. And the only way to do that is to lead with empathy and compassion. We hope you listen actively and we hope you engage us in a meaningful conversation based on your own experiences. We hope you enjoy this series and welcome to Five to Flow.
How do you think tokenism is affecting efforts to build meaningful DEI programs? So Laura, can we start with you?
Sure. Stop making token effects hires, whereby it's if you hire the one Black woman who's going to be your chief diversity officer and you fire her 6 months later, that's not going to really help anything. So what needs to actually happen is, are you doing a full assessment of the organization? And as Lorena said, being honest about where you are today, and then tracking metrics for where you'll be a year from now, not 5 years from now, but a year from now. How many hires are you going to make across the board in junior level, mid-level, senior level, C-suite, board seats, and have those numbers tied to compensation, as opposed to saying, oh, we got the really one hire that's so amazing and isn't it awesome, and then, oh wait, we didn't give her a budget, and then, oh wait, actually she's not really a fit and she doesn't report to the CEO, so oopsie, oh well, we tried. So I think right now we have to be very honest, hold those companies accountable, from top to the bottom, and say, listen, this is what actually has to happen. Because if you don't, we can all see this now. Like there is money to be made if you are on the right side of history. And if you don't, then you will get called out, because we're in that mode right now. It's not going away.
Don, your reaction to that?
Yeah, no, I support all that absolutely 100%. I also think it's about the diversity of where you assign people in the sort of the volunteer aspects of your organization, right? So for example, I don't always want to be put on the DEI committee, right? I want to have input on what the DEI committee produces, but maybe I want to serve on the governance board, or maybe I want to serve in the budget piece, right? Like maybe I want to be, don't you bring these stereotypes around what value people have and you put them into those sort of tokenized spaces. I think we have to be very careful there. I also think in terms of the metrics, we can broaden this notion of diversity and inclusion beyond just sort of the racial affinity groups. It's also around learning styles, right? It's also about, someone raised the question about, moms, accommodating moms who need to work from home, right? I mean, it's all of these kinds of situations that we have to be thinking about with our workforce, because people don't fit into these little cookie cutter boxes any longer. You can't just say someone's from here and I know everything about them. That's not the way the world works any longer, right? So I think we have to broaden that scope and then make sure we're not pigeonholing people based on those stereotypes.
Well, I think that's so spot on, and a huge piece of when you work globally, and an interest of this being a global call, that we have a tendency to think cookie cutter. And I was talking to a lot of the people at Five to Flow about this concept of, like, we have diversity of Enneagram, we have diversity of DISC, we have diversity of all these other things outside of the ways people traditionally have categorized diversity. Anyone else have thoughts on the panel for this one? Leanne, Lorena, Lisa?
I'll just add another thing that I think it would be useful, just to leave the audience with some tactical advice. The one thing that I like in the companies that I have worked on that I generally haven't seen is companies creating current employees committees in order to evaluate the coming programs. Why we are not going to the people that are already insiders in the organization? Generally, diversity is something that is taken care by either operations, HR, or both of them. And almost never you go back and say, hey, employee, you've been with the company 2 years, more than enough. What do you think about this and this and this and that? And these are the initiatives that we are taking. Do you agree? Would you feel better at your job? Could this make you stay? I think creating different employee committees every quarter or so, where you rotate people, that's something that would be, and believe me, it's not only fun, like it's super fun to hear your employees, but it's also what is going to take you to really hire the people that are going to progress your culture. Because there's no, I believe that there's no such thing as a cultural fit, because your culture is going to evolve as your company grows. But what does exist is a culture adaptation or culture evolution. And I think if you take what you have already and the people that already believe in your business, why not leverage them?
Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned next week for part 5 of our series on DEI in the workplace.